We're going to start recording. Well, here we go. There we go. We got going. So we got Copilot to be able to record away. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Redefining Your HR Processes. And we're going to, thank you for attending the time. You are the lucky folks that actually attend the webinar and actually will get the actual chatbot or agent that we have at the end of the webinar. So let's go ahead and let's go to the next slide. And let's go through the agenda of what we're going to be covering today. Okay, so we're going to start with the basics. Now, probably a lot of you already understand the basics, but we're going to ground level because when we're talking to folks, we have people that know everything about AI all the way to sometimes people that, are still learning and understanding. So we're going to start with kind of the basics of how we got to where we are. What is an agent versus a co-pilot? And just give you just kind of a grounding to make sure we're all in the same place. I find that this is useful sometimes too, even for yourself, to be able to find ways to be able to explain these concepts to executives in your company. So we're going to start there. Then we're going to actually go into, and we're going to talk about, well, now that we understand this agent thing and why it's so important and what's going on with everything, then we're going to go into a little bit of why do agents with Microsoft, right, versus anybody else, because there's lots of different agent platforms out there. So we're going to go through that and chat about that. I'm going to cover those two sections. And then when we go from there, actually, we're going to move up now that I realize there's the oopsie when you figure things. We're going to actually talk a little bit also about the new Microsoft pay-as-you-go model too, a different way to actually create agents and drive things on consumption, okay? And then we'll get into the HR agent. And that's where Sarah's going to come on and she's going to turn around and take you through the agent, show you the agent, give you examples. We're going to demo the agent. You're going to be able to see it and go from there. And then we'll wrap up with what do you need to do to get started? How do we get the agent? What do you get for attending this webinar? And we'll move forward from there. So that's kind of our agenda. We're going to, a lot of people are on mute right now. Put your questions in the chat. We've got people that will actually turn around and monitor the chat for us and answer your questions. Hopefully we'll have some time at the end, but just in case, let's make sure we get your questions answered. All right, so with that, let's get started. All right, so how did we get to where we are today? Okay, and I know this is kind of a basic lesson that's in there, but I think it's an important concept to start understanding that this evolution from generative AI to agents, and it all started way back, I would say 3-4 years ago, where we were talking about chatbots, okay? And the interesting thing is Microsoft was super involved there. It was something we called Power Virtual Agents back in that time. So very early on is where this started with this kind of interface or this bot or this thing that would talk to you. And then we kind of moved forward to the next phase, which was this whole AI-powered conversation. So applying AI to the chatbot, okay? And then probably in the last year, we really hit this generative AI piece. And we've actually applied more large language models. We've turned around and made a real big leap forward on what these things would do and be able to create these, what we essentially call copilots, these assistants that would be able to help you do things. And then we moved to phase 4, which is really saying, well, can we move from just an assistant to actually doing things? And that gets into this AI enhanced task agent, okay? And then now what we're talking about is, can agents do things for me without even asking? Kind of autonomous agents. And now even phase 6 that we're going into right now is this thing about being able to really have agents talk to other agents and work together to solve business problems without human interaction. And so it's been this evolution that's happened. But the thing that's really interesting, Microsoft has been there since day one. We've been there when the chat base was out there. We think about agents and what agents are doing. That's the whole RPA or automation. And so we've been there all along this journey, okay? But let's kind of take the journey back a step and ground ourselves. So let's go to the next slide, Sarah. And let's talk about just the basic concepts of a copilot and an agent. Because I will tell you, to be really honest, I have been confused, all right? And I work for Microsoft and this is my job and I get confused. So, I actually was listening to a presentation of Charles Lamanna, and Charles sat there and did a great job of explaining it to it. And he sat there and said, listen, co-pilots are essentially your assistants, okay? They are your personal assistant. And the thing about it is everybody in the company will have a co-pilot or an assistant. So if there are 100 people in the company, there are 100 assistants. So there are 500 people in the company, there's 500 assistants. But it's all grounded in that person's work email, documents, their world. So it's an assistant there to help me. That's the way to think about a copilot. All right. Now we have this agent, this concept. And I don't know, right when I finally figured out that I kind of knew copilots, then it says, okay, well, now it's agents. And it's the agentic world and it's all these things. And I'm going like, okay, how is that different? And when we really think about it is agents are actually the ability to do things. Okay. So work on business processes, work on behalf of employees, on behalf of teams, create actions and triggers. But when we think about it is I might have a business process, and instead of where I have one person and one assistant in a copilot, I'll have one person and I'll have multiple agents that are doing these processes. I could have 10, I could have 50, I could have 100, depending on my role in the company. So that's kind of this whole copilots and agents piece. But to be honest, I am a simple person. I have a simple mind. So I said, well, okay, I kind of get it. But what do these things actually really do for me? Right? What do agents and copilots really do for me? And I said, we got to really simplify it. So guess what? I went out and actually asked Copilot to help me with this. And I sat there and said, help me understand the difference. So let's go to the next slide. And I said, Copilot, when I think about copilots and agents, can you give me verbs? Yes, a basic verb of what these things do. And then I sat there and said, okay. And it said, what copilots, these assistants, what they can do is they can help me find things. Find this information that I'm looking for or detect things. It can help me summarize things. I got this big, long email. I want you to summarize it for me into a couple of bullet points. Copilots can do that. Copilots can generate and create things. Create me an email that does this, or create me a PowerPoint presentation, or create me Python code. It can turn around and do that. Then it can analyze, it can educate, it can predict things. It's got a lot of capabilities in that assistant that I'm asking for help. So I said, okay, I kind of get what a copilot is. It's these verbs, and I can string these verbs together with questions to help me do what I needed to do. Okay. Then I sat there and said, okay, what is an agent now? Okay, because we all talk about agents. And I said, and so when you think about agents are action. Agents do something. Okay, where the human asks the assistant to do something, the agent actually does something. And it can do something based on triggers, okay? Based on this, do this. It can also help me problem solve. I go, problem solve, wait a minute. How does it problem solve? Well, guess what? It uses all the verbs the Copilot has to be able to solve problems. And then what agents can do is they can communicate. They can communicate with other agents to start something else, or they can communicate with people. So when you start looking at that, you start going, so if I start stringing verbs together to solve my problem, I start getting an understanding how agents and copilots work together. So that's very simplistic, but it's something that sometimes when you're explaining this to the business or a business person, they may go, what is this AI thing? What is all these things? What are all these terms mean and everything else? And it's a way to kind of simplify and make sure we all understand. Okay, so that's kind of just a core foundational thing. Okay, so let's kind of go to the next slide and say, because we're here to talk about agents today, okay? So what are the different types of agents that are out there, right? So we essentially have three different types of agents. We have retrieval agents, and they kind of go from simple to more advanced. We have task agents, okay, that do something, and then we have autonomous agents that work independently, okay? So when we start looking at it, there, you go to the next slide, what you're actually gonna see is some examples. So for example, a retrieval agent, okay, help desk. How do I connect to the corporate network? Retrieve information that I need. That's a retrieval agent, okay? Then we sit there and say, what's a task agent? That next thing, building experiences, optimizing existing processes, review outstanding open POs, and begin financial planning. Do a task for me, okay? And then there's autonomous agents, these agents that act on their own. The agent has identified a new support issue and triage it to another event, okay? Person didn't do that. The person didn't ask them to do something. The agent did it automatically based on information that's out there. So this is kind of the world of simple to more advanced and the different types of agents that are, okay? So we're kind of grounding ourselves on that. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so why is this agent thing such a big deal? Right? Why is it, agentic world, everything's going, everything you read on the press, it's agent, agent, agent. Why is it such a big deal? Well, let's use a simple example to turn around and look at this. So this is an example of a company, may not be your company, exact processes, but it's essentially a new hire onboarding example, okay? And when you see it, you've got 4 people working on this onboarding example. And you'll see these steps that go through it, okay? And if you actually counted up all these steps, if you go to the next slide, Sarah, you'll actually see there are 18 human interactions, 18 of them, okay? So there's lots of steps, lots of things going back, lots of people involved. Now let's fast forward to the agentic world, okay? You'll see now instead of people, you have your new hire and you have these agents that it's talking to. And if you look at human interactions, if you go to the next slide, Sarah, there's actually 2. 18 to 2. This is why people are actually going, wow, about this whole agentic world or agents and why it's so important. Because this is one business process. Okay, go to the next slide, Sarah. Think about how many business processes you have in HR. You multiply that times the business process in HR. Then you go to legal, then you go to marketing, you go to these other areas, and you start thinking about all these business processes. And now you turn around and have a situation where it's like, wow, okay, I see how this can be game changing. I can see how this can change my organization that's out there. And that is why people are so excited about agents. You know, maybe it's why you're here. You know, you're trying to explain how to adapt this into your company and explain this to your executives. If you go to the next slide, what I want to show you is that, you know, our friends at Imperium who are in this presentation, we're here to talk to you about an HR agent, okay? An agent to help HR and help deflect calls and other things that are in place. But, you know, the beautiful thing is they've been creating agents for a while and they've created in all these different areas. So I think even though we're here and you're going to get the HR agent that's in place, there's other places that, you know, essentially when these dialogues that are out there that you can think about where you can apply these agents to different areas, okay? So let's go to the next slide, okay? And let's say now that we understand a little bit about, hey, what's a copilot, what's an agent, we also understand this kind of like, okay, why is it so important? Why are people going wow and goo gaga over it, okay? Well, there's lots of companies that provide agents, okay? And we appreciate that you're on this call with us, but it's understanding, now the question is, well, why do agents with Microsoft versus anybody else that's out there in the marketplace? And it really comes down to 4 factors. And we're gonna dive into these 4 factors a little bit. Trust, the platform, connectors, and the company, okay? So let's go to the next slide and let's dive into these 4 and why people are building agents with Microsoft. Number 1, the number one reason that people are building these things with Microsoft, it comes down to trust, security, compliance, privacy, okay? Our commitment to essentially to AI and responsible AI, our commitment to security, our commitment to enterprise data. It is not just something that we popped up and did today. This is a commitment that we have from our company from way, way back when, as far as our commitment to security and trust. And this is why people are betting on Microsoft, because you're running into situations now, whether you're turning around and bringing these agents, these co-pilots to bear, and you know, you have people sitting there and they're going to bring it in on their own phone themselves, you know, and they're going to apply it to your stuff. And so if we're not giving people the ability to be able to do these things that are out there and create these agents and have these co-pilots that are in there, security and privacy and trust. When I sat there and said earlier, grounded in your data, okay, your business, the difference between the business and personal, okay, they bleed together, but it's a super important line that needs to be managed. So the number one reason people are doing that is security and trust. The second reason, if you go to the next slide, comes down to really this AI platform that we have built. You know, when we still, this ability to create co-pilots and agents and being able to do that across the entire ecosphere of your M365, your business applications, your other pieces. But the other thing that's important, and I'm guessing we probably have some professional developers in here, the ability to blend low code and pro code together. The ability to create very complex agents utilizing these Azure services that are down in the bottom, give you the ability to do things that, you know, you can, you can spark the imagination. You can help actually drive innovation within your company. This platform, I really believe, is second to none as far as being able to build agents on this platform. The third reason, if we go to the next thing, is, well, the platform's great, but guess what? I've got other stuff, okay? And this agent needs to communicate with other things. We have over 1,400 connectors. We have been committed to this connector framework to help you get agents that can turn around and work with your existing systems, work with other things that are in place. So yes, we believe we've created the most comprehensive agent architecture that's in place to be able to build agents, but these agents have to talk to other things, okay? And these connectors and this commitment to the connector framework is so important. And then the fourth reason, okay, there is really the company. When it comes down to it, when you're starting to decide who we're going to build agents on and where we're going to bet our business on as far as this platform goes, right now, Copilot Studio is the most widely used agent platform on the market today, second to none. Over 100,000 companies already are building agents on Copilot, okay? And it's growing every single day because of the three things that I talked to you prior. It is that, and then the other thing that Microsoft is always committed to, and let's go to the next slide, is how can I do this, whether I'm a Fortune 500 company or whether I'm a small business? Microsoft has always been committed to be able to not only support the big guys that are out there, but to support the small businesses, the medium business, everything else, so they can all take advantage of this technology, democratizing this technology. So what we have done is we have just launched recently, and this plays right into this agent scenario with this agent that we're going to give you in HR, a pay-as-you-go model. So it's not doing a big upfront cost or I got to buy all of these users that are there. It's as I use these agents, as these agents create value, I'm going to pay as I go. That gives you flexibility that's in place. Okay, and if we go to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about this pay-as-you-go model, right? There's really four aspects to it. Is in the pay-as-you-go model, you pay, if you look on the right-hand side, a penny a message. Or if you want to, you can buy 25,000 messages for $200, okay? But a penny a message. And then depending on what your agent does, it will use those messages, basic messages, AI-generated responses, for people, there will be technical people that understand tenants grounded in the graph, pieces that are out there, autonomous agents, they will take different aspects of a message, okay? But let's do an example, because an HR agent is deflecting calls. So it's a lot of just basic responses. So if you think about it, if I had a 1,000-person employee and we're deflecting HR calls, and I don't make 5 HR inquiries a week myself personally, but we'll just use the number 5. An employee does 5 inquiries a week that's out there. They have 1,000 employees, that's 5,000 messages. Okay, times a penny a message, it's $50 a month. And the whole thing is you only pay if it's used. If they're not using it, you put this agent up and nobody uses it, you're not really paying anything unless they actually use it. Okay, so I think the interesting thing is we want to make sure that everybody, no matter the size of your company, can take advantage of agents and what agents bring to the world. Okay, so with that, let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to hand this over to Sarah. And we're going to, why you came here, okay, you heard my overview. Okay, you're probably like, okay, let's get to the real stuff. And so Sarah's the real stuff. And Sarah's going to come in here and she's going to show you. You're going to actually get to see the HR agent that's in place and the one that you're going to get and some of the benefits that are there and how we move forward. So with that, Sarah, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, John. Hey, everybody. It's nice to see you all today. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about what you're really getting for attending this webinar, which is Imperium's HR agent. So this is our IP that puts the agent scenario to use for HR admins and managers to kind of lighten their burden of helping all of the employees that they're supporting to find the information that they need, and also to create tasks for themselves and to manage their Outlook calendars. So we have a few different features that we'll be going through today, but the key capabilities that we're providing with this HR agent are to-do list management, so you can create create Outlook tasks, edit them, update them, remove them, create lists. And then from an Outlook event management standpoint, instead of having to go to your calendar anytime you want to create a meeting or update a meeting, you can do that simply from a chat interface where you can create events, update them, delete them, and so forth. And then, of course, the HR assistant aspect of it, which is allowing you to share specific content about your organizational policies that you want any employee to be able to access. And then that allows them to get self-service help when they have questions about policies related to a specific scenario. So these are the key capabilities that we're providing here, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into them with a demo here. So let me pull up my Teams chat here. And the really cool thing about this too is that once we've set it up for you, it's a single click for every employee to be able to add this into their Teams application. So when I want to use this chatbot, I don't have to go into my browser and find it somewhere on a web page or go to a specific URL. It's simply an app that's just saved in my Teams navigation. So it's there for whenever I need it, and I don't have to even think about finding it. So for example, say I'm an employee, I'm trying to plan some of my vacations for the year. So I want to just remember exactly what are the company holidays so I can optimize the vacation days that I'm taking around the holidays and kind of maximize my time off. So I'm simply going to ask, what are the company holidays? It's going to dig through all of the different documents that have been shared with it related to the HR, and then it's going to give me a list of all of the holidays and the specific dates. And it also gives me a reference to which document it pulled this from and the exact clause or section of that document that it pulled the content from. And then if I want, I could keep chatting it. But say, for example, while I was looking up these holidays, I got a meeting invite that popped up, and I realized that now I need to actually shift a different meeting that I had planned today. So now I'm going to come in here and go to my Manage Outlook Events. I need to update my sync with John. I was going to catch up with John later, but now I need to push that out a little bit to accommodate something that popped up. So I'm just going to select my date. It's going to give me a list of all the different events that I have in my Outlook calendar for that date. And then I just need to simply copy the date, the name of that meeting, and then I can update the title. I could update the description. Maybe I booked the invite without putting any agenda in there. I want to add that, or I could go ahead and update the date and time. So instead of me having to really go through and find the event in my calendar, which I don't know about for everyone else, but for me, always takes forever to find it mixed around all the meetings, right? So I can just simply do it with a few clicks there. So that's giving you an example of kind of the agent performing an action and saving me time and helping me to get back to focusing on my work. So that's something that's really applicable across the board. And for the policy management piece, right, that is saving a lot of time from communications that the HR teams are typically having to take on. But John, I know you wanted to shed light with an example from a customer.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's like, okay, what can this agent do? And we think about it is, well, a large financial institution, very, very large one, actually deployed an HR agent across 130,000 employees, 130,000. And what they saw was they essentially were getting all these tickets and HR questions that were coming through. What's my, for example, what's the leave policy? What are these things that are out there? And they actually saw a 75% increase, essentially an increase in the deflection rate. They've been able to deflect 75% of those inquiries that came in that an HR person would have to open a ticket and turn around and process, okay, and get answers back to automatically without human intervention. Now, you multiply that across people in different areas, but it was an incredible benefit for literally this same type of HR agent that you're going to get at this end of this webinar. They're able to deflect those so their HR people can focus on other issues and other things that are more important.
Thanks, John, for that real world example and to shed a little bit light on each specific role and how this really brings value, right? For the HR managers, like John was just talking about, they get bombarded oftentimes with questions from anyone about any type of policy because people just don't know where to look to find the information, even if they already have access to it. So it really gives them time back, helps to reduce those tickets or help desk cases that are coming into the HR teams. And it also improves their employee satisfaction because they're able to focus more on the stuff that they need to work on rather than answering other questions. For the employees, it's also valuable because they can get a response really quickly. If they're sending an email to someone who's really busy with lots of questions, lots of work, they're going to have a little bit of a delay before they get the response that they need. If you have a personal situation comes up, that's often when we're really looking for those policies. So we want to be able to get that response quickly. And with the HR agent, right, you can get that information, whether it's a weekend, whether it's after work hours, or during the middle of a busy day. So it gives them better support, it gives them more empowerment to find answers themselves, and it's already within the locations that they work, like in teams. And then for the executives, right, this is actually saving money because the employees that they're hiring in the HR team, they're spending money essentially by having them waste their time or spend their time answering tickets manually for things that didn't really need to take up their time. So getting better organizational productivity and improving their HR compliance with managing their policies as well. So these are some of the key benefits for different roles when you deploy this HR manager or HR agent. And I wanted to give another example of a customer that we made an agent for, and this is Baptist Health. They were having a similar type of scenario where their clinicians and nurses, right, they're very busy. They need to spend their times with the patients. They also have a lot of work to do in the clinical systems to make sure that they have all the documentation there. And whenever there were technical issues, their clinicians were spending upwards of 7 minutes on a call, 7 to 10 minutes to call a third-party help desk to help them resolve that ticket or find information. So we created, they really branded it as Cassie, their clinical application support assistant, but she helped them to not only have better access to all of the documentation and training content for the various clinical systems, but also to create help desk tickets directly. So instead of having to call anyone, it now takes them under 60 seconds to create a ticket whenever there's some kind of technical issue. And that also helped them to identify more issues as well, because previously people just didn't have time to call, and there were things that were going unfixed because they were underreported as well. So this was a huge time savings, and it was really something that helped them to address their clinician burden, and it helped them to spend more time doing the important work of, serving the patients as well. And this was something that we were able to deploy within Teams as well as directly within the interface of their electronic health record. So really making sure it's accessible at the point of where users are working. So for the HR agent, we're here today to offer you our free $35,000 HR agent. It's valued, that's the value of the IP, but we're here today to make it really easy for you to deploy it and get started and start seeing that value. So this is a program, right? Microsoft and Imperium are covering the deployment and training of how to set up and use the agent. The license is free, and the messaging is following that pay-as-you-grow model. So like John mentioned, you are only paying for the value that you are getting and no more. So we've made it easy here, and the timeline is...
Hey, Sarah, so I want to make sure.
Yeah.
It's zero. So for these folks on the phone, it's essentially they call up, they get the agent, There's really no deployment costs as far as kind of the basic configuration that's out there. You guys will show them how to use it. And the IP, I know you've done this for other customers. That's why it's valued around 3,000. But for the folks who are here, they will get that for essentially that number, right?
Yep, nilch.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sure. All right.
You heard it right. And the deployment as well, super simple, super straightforward. We can get this up and running for you in under 7 days, and there's really not much time needed from the customer's end. We just have to meet with you and understand exactly which documents you want the HR agent to have access to, and then we'll set those up and configure them and deploy it in your environment. And with that, you'll be able to provide that one-click option to all of your employees to add it into their teams. So very quick and simple, and not much time commitment at all from your end. So with that,
So with that right here, if you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to the form, and we're going to do the form. And all you have to do, this is how you actually get the agent and you get the process that get this whole thing started. You just scan this QR code, and if you go to the next slide, you're actually going to turn around and see if you play this, and this will be the form that you're going to fill out. So you can just see the form that's out there. Pretty straightforward: full name, work email, company name, job title, phone number. I think the phone number is actually optional. You don't have to put your phone number in. You can just do your email. And then there's questions around the HR agent, like what features you're looking for. And then you sit there and you go to the other questions about other things. And the other thing about it is, if there's other areas, if you come back and say, hey, yes, I like this HR agent, but maybe there's another area that I want to explore that we're really thinking about and challenged with, you can talk to the folks with Imperium, because they have a bunch of different agents that are in place. So your ability to be able to go, yes, we can explore that. For people earlier, if you go to the next slide, you'll just put the QR code back up there. If you get to the next slide, you'll turn around and, you'll have the ability of, if you're earlier in the process, okay, then you turn around and, hey, I can show the HR agent, I can start showing my leadership what's going on and how we have the ability and how agents can do things for us. But if there's other areas, we can explore those other areas. And yes, okay, for the first 10 people that actually fill out this form and stuff, yep, we're going to get the good old Microsoft water bottle, but we will be sending you the Microsoft water bottle too, along with it. I know it's kind of cheesy, but we do appreciate your time. Hey, Sarah, there was a question in the Q&A that in your essential little demo, how many times was the agent called? I think Ashish is trying to figure out, how many messages were going back and forth in that little demo you were doing.
Yeah, that was called 3 times during my demo. And then there was one more question I wanted to address as well. Is there the ability to reduce the answers only to my company's policies and procedures? So absolutely. This is completely under your control, the content and that you're going to provide to it. So you can set up, a folder and drop documents into that, only the ones that you want the agent to have access to. So it's not going to share answers on, anything that you have across your organization. It's going to be very specifically controlled by whoever is administering it, or by the HR department's kind of wishes. So I hope that helps clarify that as well.
That's great. And look at this, Sarah. We actually are going to be able to give people time back, which is great, but we also have time for some questions. So if you want to put them in the chat, or if you want to, I don't know, Brittany, if we can unmute a few people, but we also have some technical experts here on there. So maybe not a question that I can answer, but between Sarah and some of our technical folks, we might be able to answer some questions for you. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you're not, and you don't have any questions, and you got other things to do with your day, I want to let you know we appreciate your time. By you being here, we can tell you are the people that are really understanding how to apply this technology at your companies, and learning about that. So hopefully you learned a nugget or two, and can move over from, and can take advantage of that moving forward. So let's see, I see something in the chat. Let's see. There is a question. How long is the agent available for? Over the next 3 months, we'll be deploying IP in your tenant for free. Okay, you already answered that, Christian? I think you already answered that, right?
Yeah, ultimately available for the next 3 months, but make sure you guys sign up with the link, and the first 10 probably will get the spot this month, and then after that we'll be scheduling it out.
Okay. Any other questions?
See a couple more. Would the
Okay.
questions and responses be shared outside my organization? So that is something that is actually a configuration. So if you want this to be something that's customer facing, say we've worked for this scenario in the HR for pre-onboarding, right? Candidates asking questions. So in that case, we can deploy it on like a web page or something, a portal where they have access to it. If not, then if you just want it to be restricted to inside your organization, then that is absolutely possible as well. Like if you're only deploying it within Teams, but it's all up to you how you set it up and what exact scenarios that you are trying to add value for. And then would it be possible to arrange a demo for my HR executives? Yeah, so if you scan that form and fill it out, when we chat, we can definitely set up some additional demo, or if you bring the HR executives to the next meeting, we can definitely show it to them. So happy to do that.
Great. Anything else? Anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, I'm sure everybody can appreciate, efficiency and getting 15 minutes back of their day. But if anybody else has any questions, we can hang on. For other folks, please fill out the form. It's a great way to get started and move forward, and being able to, start applying this and playing with it and seeing where it's there, and and being able to figure out how to add to it and have it increase its capabilities that are out there, or explore other areas. But we really do appreciate your time coming here and spending some time learning about agents and what we're doing at Microsoft, and and being able to help that within your company. So with that, I will wrap up. We will stay on, but otherwise I will let people can go get coffee or other things before their next meetings. And thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
And we will stay here for anybody who has questions for a little bit. And if you have questions you want to discuss, feel free to raise your hands and we can take you off mute. And there's one. Caitlin? Can we unmute? Let's see. Brittany, can you unmute Caitlin? Yeah, we've got a couple of questions here. Hold on one second.
She is unmuted. She just has to
Unmute herself.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Britt. We're going to take it in the order of. Okay, Caitlin. So if you unmute yourself, you'll go first. Okay, and then we'll go to Eric. And then we'll go to Kamlesh. I think if I said that correctly. If not, I apologize. So, Caitlin, if you unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
What? Yep, barely.
Okay. Oh
Yep,
my
we got
gosh,
you now.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Say we are going to utilize the agent for like answering handbook questions. Is there a way to kind of program the system based off an employee being exempt or non-exempt?
Yes, that is something we can set up. We can show you how to do that as part of the training when we deploy it, or if you want our support with it, we're happy to help you out with it as well.
So
Okay.
it's possible, Sarah, right?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, even for, benefits and stuff like that too,
Yes.
I assume. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
Caitlin,
I
there's also scenarios where it doesn't come with the agent out of the box, but for example, they're going to show you ways. Some people want to hook the agent into their HR system to answer questions like what's my vacation balance or something like that. And they're going to show you how to do that. And then if you need help with it, you can actually get help with it. Or, for a lot of people, depending on their IT staff, it's simple enough to do kind of thing. So, there's a lot of flexibility on what you can get this agent.
Cool. Thank you so much. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Eric, over to you, and you take your. Eric's ahead of me.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the demo. Going back to trust, security, and privacy. So obviously a big concern about utilizing AI bots and stuff in that data, your data getting published out to the outside world. What do you guys do to help prevent that, or is this kind of configured in a way, or can we configure it in a way to where our data stays self-contained within our organization?
Within
Can you
your
elaborate a little
organization.
bit more on that?
Yeah, Eric, it's within your organization and your tenant. The thing about it is, if you ever worked with Copilot, I don't know if you worked with Copilot, Eric, have you?
Just little bits here and there.
A little bit. You'll see, like at the top, you'll see work or personal kind of thing as an option. And when you ground yourself in work is what you'll actually set the agent up to do. What happens is you're now grounded inside your environment. I don't want to say you're putting up four walls kind of thing, but you're within your environment. But sometimes you need to go out and look for information. So when I click over to personal, because I want to search the web and I want to apply the web to that context, I click over to personal. Same kind of concepts with agents as far as what do you want that agent to do. But Sarah, do you have anything you want to add, or we also have some other technical folks that can add some comments?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to highlight that it's not like a SaaS model where we're hosting it outside. It's all in your own Azure environment, so you have complete control over the data. It's definitely not going anywhere.
Perfect. Very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, and Kamala, did I botch your name? If I did, I'm so sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine, John.
Okay.
John and Sarah, excellent demo. Thank you for taking time out. I have a couple of questions. I think one of them was answered. Can I limit the data only to my policies? Which I think is positive. Yes.
Yes.
Second one, we need your help in demoing it to a couple of my executives, especially in HR. Because they are eventual customer, right?
Yep.
So we'll reach out to you. I think I have your email ID, so we'll reach out to you. This one. Second is, can we do the rollout in staggered fashion? Let just the HR folks have the access first, make them comfortable, that is giving the right answers before rolling out to the bigger bigger employee base. Is that possible?
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Okay. And you think about that. That's the beauty is this pay-you-go model, is that, let's say I pilot it with my HR people, they're playing with it and they do 20 transactions at a penny a transact. You know what I mean? It's like no risk to be able to pilot it and say, hey, does this work for us? And if it does, yes, we can roll it out to a Gator group or a subgroup or et cetera. Or we can decide if it doesn't work for you, then it's like, that's fine too, right? It's just like, and that's the nice thing about this pay-as-you-go model.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's how we typically work. Do some pilot before actually rolling out to the wider audience. Awesome. So I'll reach out to you, see when we can have some demo for our HR folks, and then we can go from there.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, just a heads up, there's only 7 water bottles left. I just want to throw that out there. So, and this is a great water bottle. I have it myself.
If I sign up for it, do they necessarily have to take it?
Yeah.
The application.
You can pass it forward. You can share it to whoever you want to get a free water bottle.
Okay. Deal. I don't want to miss a chance.
Okay. Great. Anybody else? Well, if not, thank you all for your time. Very much enjoyable. Thank you for the questions, and we look forward. And feel free to reach out. Brittany, you'll be providing a follow-up too with some of the information.
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. Great.
And you'll have the recording day. And sorry, John.
Go ahead.
Do we have access to recording or PowerPoint for this demo?
Brittany, I think you're going to provide the access to the recording.
Yes, as well as the PDF.
And the PDF of the PowerPoint. So you'll get both. And, and like I said, some of the early stuff, I know it was very basic, Mesh, but sometimes it's very helpful when you're trying to explain these concepts to some of your executives that don't have an AI background. So, feel free to use any of that to help explain some of that to your executives.
Yeah, that's how I want to approach it. Give them a little bit of pitch. This is what it does, and then arrange for some demo from you guys.
Yeah, I was telling you the putting in the verb. everybody kind of jumps forward and just literally goes to the, hey, this is AI, it does all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't, nobody really explains kind of what does it really do for you.
Right. Yep.
And to help an executive understand that, going, oh, this is what it does for, right? Okay. Then you can start taking them down the path. And I think right now with all the excitement of AI and everything is we sometimes skip go. We don't collect $200 and we just kind of move past it and we assume everybody knows it.
That's true. Yeah, no, hear you.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Friday.